مش أسمائنا. Good morning everybody. I congratulate Helwan University for the second wave conference. Now I will present a paper titled COVID-19 between panic and confrontation as a step of psychological counseling, a case study of faculty of education student Helwan University by سلوى, الباقى, خالد فرجون, فاطمة عبد الباسط. These papers aim to identify the negative influences that have occurred due to the emergence of coronavirus and the panic. Therefore, the researchers or the team of researchers aim to identify the direction of student toward university student toward this crisis, and also identify the ways of confrontation. Researcher also wanted to know the student with high score or degree of panic in order to design a counseling program to reduce their panic and anxiety. At first, I will tell you what sparked this research. After we learned the news of coronavirus, a few days ago, Fatma Abdel Basit called me, as she is a colleague in mental health department. She discussed with me about conducting research for the panic that accompanying the emergence of this crisis and the importance of recognizing it. She offered to participate, so I asked Khalid Fergoon to participate with us. So we all immediately started the procedure. As a premise, you know, the world is facing an epidemic like COVID-19. People usually feel that they are fighting an invisible enemy, and therefore we expect that most people will be in a state of anxiety. However, we know very well that there are individual differences. That mean that there are minorities that may be extremely terrified. So we must pay attention to the importance of rapid intervention in order to remedy this group, especially since the youth group is considered to be most important group as they are the future of this world. And therefore, no people can ignore how serious this situation is. The current research objective, number one, to find out how common the students of Faculty of Education are panicking and frightened. Number two, to learn about the trends of the student of the Faculty of Education towards the coronavirus crisis. Number three, to get to to know the pattern of student of coping coronavirus. Number four, to determine the samples suffering from panic and need intervention. Conceptual framework and literature. At first, history of epidemics. We know that there are 20 of the worst epidemic and pandemics dating from prehistory to modern times. After that, I will talk about panic disorder. Is a type of anxiety disorder that is characterized by fear and anxiety. Panic disorder are diagnosed as occurring when coronavirus can infect both animal and people and can cause a range respiratory illness from the common cold, more dangerous conditions like severe acute respiratory syndrome or SARS. Coping styles, coping strategy or coping styles. and skills are the reaction and behaviors one adopts to deal with difficult situations. Coping strategies come in many forms. Some are helpful and some are harmful. Crisis, it means life events are one of the most common topics in the area of research of basic determinants of psychological health because of the observed connection with the way people function and adjust. To summarize this, coping is defined as the use of strategies for dealing with actual crisis and their attendant negative emotions. The coping process involves every dimension of human function. Coping serves different purpose for different people dealing with different events in the different context. Crisis force individuals to confront their limitation and can stimulate religious resources to resolve problems. These crises can have different sources and they vary in duration, intensity, and scope. Many theorists define crisis as crucial time and turning point in the person's life. The term is often used for a person's internal reaction to external hazards. Crisis may occur when individual is unable to deal effectively with stressful changes in the environment after that we should present. Literature and contribution, really I will jump this point to the methodology. Methodology, it means the philosophy of the research process. This includes the assumptions and values that serve as a rationale for research and the standard of criteria the researchers use for interpreting and reaching conclusions. We use a descriptive technique or descriptive research that is aimed at casting light on current issues or problems through process of data collection. This enables us to describe the situation more completely than was possible without employing this method. Correlation is a statistical measure of relationship between two or more variables that gives an indication of how one variable may predict another one. Participants and procedures. The participants of the present study were 582 students of Faculty of Education, Helwan University, from different levels and specialization by sampling different departments. Now I will talk about results and discussions. COVID-19 outbreak is a unique and unprecedented scenario for many people. All research centers and researchers know that this time of crisis is generating stress through population. The consideration presented in this paper have developed by our team. This result will help us to generating another researches and projects for the university student to help them to be more stable and confident. In other words, we will run series of manages that can be used in communication to support mental and psychological well-being in different target groups during outbreak by using online psychological caring or service. Now we are presenting the main outcome of the study. At first, we put a hypothesis states that the panic disorder is widespread among university students. To verify this hypothesis to be valid, the researchers calculated the median to determine the degree of cutting, and the value is 5, and then it was calculated frequencies and the percentage of the student who received a score higher than 5. The first result has shown that panic spreading among university students, while percentage giving is 44.2%. This result is consistent with the survey conducted in the United States of America, and the results were as follows. The trend strikes amongst the youngest people in CDC survey. Above 46% of people their age 18 to 29 years. The results are corresponding with the current research or our research. These young people, while not most heavily impacted by the illness itself, but they are facing extreme future uncertainty and missing opportunities due to the economic crisis that could affect them negatively for decades. The CDC and the Census Bureau data also shows that some groups of people are suffering more than others, especially women and the young and the less educated. This result corresponding with the results of current research. We know that during pandemic, many people with anxiety disorder and panic are performing safety behaviors to keep themselves safe or healthy. After this result, we have another result related of sex differences or gender differences. There are significant differences between the average score of student panic score between male and females, and as a result, the female student were more panicked than male. This result corresponding with American study and corresponding and support all the results. Most research states that women are suffering from anxiety and panic in the difficult time. The third result is no differences among all grades in the university in panic. This means that panic is spreading among all students in all the world. This corresponding with all researches that assure that the panic of COVID-19 is spreading in all classes and especially young people. There is no significant differences of coping style attribute to gender in level of total score and sub-dimensions. This means that nowadays the female student is similar with male, and proof that female have changed. The female suffering from panic more than male, but in coping strategy they are similar. This means the woman or female have changed. There are no significant differences in the total score between research sample in the style of coping and sub-dimension, but there is difference in the behavioral dimension only. There are differences between the students to whom are attending human developmental courses were better than others in behavioral coping styles only. Basically, this supports the hypothesis partially, as signifies the result of human developmental courses. The result is odd due to the fact that students to whom attended courses related to human developmental are panicking more often, so So this result means the courses were not effective. Perhaps the overwhelmed crisis seems to be very dangerous and challenge their ability, and those who are unreliable. Perhaps COVID-19 outbreak is unique and unprecedented for many people. Consider the social media responsible of spreading panic. This Devlin 2020 said that consider the social media responsible of the spreading panic. There is no significant differences between the student average score of banking who are using social media that present psychological services to signify the differences between student average score whom are exposed to social media which present psychological services compared to the counterparts who did not use social media at this time. Statistical differences between students whom are exposed to social network that presents psychological, all of them I think need psychological services. This result shows that they need interpretation. They may still panic, and the fear is spreading rapidly everywhere, and there is something else that is spreading without control. Of course, other stuff like rumors, ambiguous and mislead information also plays a reason on psychological students forgetting their own information that they knew during their courses at social media. Another result, there are differences in coping between the average scores student whom exposed to social media as they attend online psychological services or caring compared to students who don't. This result shows the influence of social media in style of coping is significant at the level of total score. And especially at affective and behavioral domain. As I said, we have three domains: cognitive, behavioral, affective. The influences were only in behaviorally and affective. This can source the media, the social media is useful and can be a source of information. Perhaps this information can broaden student knowledge, but we know that a lot of exposure may be produce tension. Finally, we can predict the score of style of coping by knowing the score of panic. The independent variable panic disorder interpret 85% from the discrepancy in independent variable style of coping. This means that if we know the score of panic, we can predict the score of coping. We can form the regression equation which help to predict the scores of coping style from the score of panic disorders. We arrived to interpretation and the conclusions. After we have discussed the result, we should speculating this issue and leading to clear understanding and insight. We should admit that panic scores are different. Some of them are normal and some of them are harmful. Some of them suffering from high anxiety and anxious and panic because some students with pre-existing mental health condition they already this sample already suffering from mental health. Thus, they are more panicking than other students. Particularly vulnerable in an emergency mental health conditions such as anxiety, bipolar affect a person thinking, feeling, mood or behavior in a way that influences their ability to relate function each day. Hence, everyone react differently. Everyone react differently to stress situation. In addition, the impact of crisis-induced stress. The results corresponding with the finding of the study of Telish 1989, especially the influence of vulnerability and that panic spreading among female higher than male. We should mention two feeling of uncertainty. Number one, vulnerability. Number two, uncertainty and environmental triggers. Number three, all of these factors impact the student reaction, impact panic. This result is corresponding with the literature. Male and female are equal in coping. This means that female have changed nowadays. Now I arrived to recommendations. I put maybe 5 recommendations. I think they are very important and very essential for the leaders. Effective, resilient, focused leadership that empower people to act their own behalf is essential. Number 2, we should cultivate an optimistic, focused vision and realistic plan B or plan 2. Number 3, leaders should empowering information, bring rational ideas and hope with shows and ambiguity. Number 4, researchers should investigate the negative psychological impacts of crisis and distress by using qualitative technique due to understand this phenomena in depth. Number 5, we should preparing a counseling program for the banking student. Finally, I want to thank Fatma El-Masri for helping us in statistical treatment. Thank you for your attention. I am ready to any question and any comment with pleasure. أعتقد معقول يعني.
لا معقول جدا.
طيب.